Teams now want to add a little bit more as Carolina spins it across and tick, two in a row. Carolina 2-0. Svechnikov on a picture-perfect setup, and the Canes. Pass to himself, and Martinook will feed Jarvis. Jarvis back to Martinook. He scores! Oh, what a beauty! His 600th game. Jordan Martinook. Into the backhand, Kochetkov's run into. Puck's loose. Kochetkov is down in the crease. Behind the play, Lundstrom was taken down, and he's skating out of the fray. Why?
It's the podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Adam Gold, and God, didn't it feel like almost an all-star break? Hurricanes had 4 days off, hit the ice against the Anaheim Ducks, play a great first period. Probably should have had more than 2 goals. Play a dreadful first 11 minutes of the second period. All of a sudden, it's 3-3. And then a few minutes later, you lose your goaltender, Pyotr Kochetkov. Isaac Lundstrom was pushed into him by Dmitry Orlov, and the ensuing collision sends Kochetkov to the dressing room injury. And the Rod Brindamore said, well, it's definitely an upper body injury. Looked like a head injury to all of us, and they'll know more tomorrow. So that's not great. Kochetkov is playing at a superb level, although I didn't think he was awesome tonight. Not that the goals were necessarily faultable, but I didn't think he played, at least the second one, strong goal. I didn't like the way he played it. But anyway, he has been an enormous part of this 14-game run in which Carolina is 9-1-4. And Hurricanes have drawn within 3 points now of the Rangers in the division. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We are brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do an amazing job, and I hope you are enjoying. Are we better? Is the audio better? Do I have to start this sucker over? I shouldn't have to start over. Anyway, let's try. Hopefully everything is okay. You can hear us. I apologize if you can't. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on the road, and the crew do a great job. Hope all is well. If you're listening in Adelaide, shouts to you. Summer. If you're listening in Perth, same thing. If you're listening in either of those 2 cities, are you headed to the Australian Open? Listening in Dublin, hope everything is well. It's cold where you are. It's cold where we are. We're about to have bad weather here in Raleigh again. But you don't come to here. You don't come to the Canes Corner podcast to hear me do a weather report. Let's see how much we can get to tonight. Seth Jarvis was a star, right? He's not going to be an all-star, but he is playing very, as I termed on Twitter at A Gold Fan, very all-starish hockey. Now, for 3 years, we've seen what Seth can do offensively. Last year, I know it was hard to quantify. In more games, less offensive production. But the truth of the matter is that he was a significantly better player last year than he had ever been. And again, small sample size, just 2 years. But this year is putting all of it together, and he's a better player in all 3 areas of the ice than he was even last year, and you can see his defensive game growing. And the truth of the matter is that he is absolutely being one of the best players on the team right now. And with all of that, if he doesn't produce, it's kind of hard to convince people that he is a better player. But we've seen it now for a year and a half. Seth Jarvis growing into one of the best players on the team, and right now is on pace for a 60-point season. He has 31 points in 41 games. He has 12 points, 6 goals, 6 assists in his last 14 games. Carolina's 9-1-4 in their last 14. So he's been great. Last audio clip you heard. There's a whole bunch of things going on here at the same time. And I apologize for that. Um, the injury to Pyotr Kochetkov, we hope, will not be a terrible thing. We hope that will not be long term. We hope that he'll only be sidelined for a little bit. But listening to the head coach, Rod Brindamore, it occurred to me that he was not in a good mood about it. There was anything untoward about the play. Thought Carolina, for the most part, I mean, so hopefully he'll be fine. But let me get back to the larger point that I tried to make on Saturday night after the Blues game. It was never supposed to be about Kochetkov being an everyday goaltender. It's not why the Hurricanes brought back 3 goaltenders that all played last year. They really didn't know. Now, Carolina went to Ottawa, and Kochetkov started playing great from that game on. And that's awesome, but I think we all understand he's probably not a 931 save percentage goalie. So the truth is going to be somewhat in the middle. And he still has a long way to go to grow into being an everyday NHL goalie. So they were always going to need Raanta and or the return of Frederik Andersen in order to be able to do this. Well, as it turned out, Antti Raanta seems to be back. The game against St. Louis was so good from Ranta's standpoint that I almost didn't care that Carolina let an extra point drift out of PNC Arena. And while he only had to, I think the TV broadcast had him with 4 saves. I believe they only have him with 3 on the official game sheet. I'm gonna have to go. Let me go check this. I'm pretty sure he only had 3 saves. But either way, he didn't have to make a save at the end of the period, end of the second period when he came in. I have Antti Raanta with 3 saves in the game. So, but the first save he had to make in the third period, which admittedly came about, I don't know, 8 or 9 minutes in. Well, a 3-on-2, a gorgeous pass across. I don't even know who had the shot. But Raanta had to go post to post, left to right, and he got all the way over. And the knock on Raanta over the last, really over the last all year has been his lateral quickness has not been outstanding. He had speed a lot on wrap chances, although he made a great save on a wrap against St. Louis. But he went post to post. Carolina's already up. They're up by 2, but still, you don't want to give up the goal. Post to post, great save, and that was his first save of the night. He got the help of the post. Did get the help also of Mason McTavish lifting the puck over the crossbar from, I don't know, a foot from the goal line. Ridiculous. I don't know how the puck doesn't go in the net. So there was some good form there. but Antti made a couple of really good saves, and he had to. Otherwise, Carolina, it would have there would have been serious game pressure. So the encouraging sign from Saturday night against St. Louis is that you got Antti Raanta back, and you might need him, and you might need him to play a fair amount depending on what happens with Pyotr Kochetkov. And I understand. I've already seen the comments. Go get Elvis Merzlikins. Go get Jacob Markstrom. John Gibson, the guy who started the game for Anaheim, who also left, by the way, bullpen game tonight, as both backup goaltenders who started the game on the bench ended up playing. Lucas Dostal, I don't know how to pronounce his name, who played against Carolina in the first game between these two teams, an Anaheim 6-3 win in Game 3 during the very beginning of the season. But Gibson had really kind of recovered from a very difficult start to, go through a stretch where he was playing much better. And he has been mentioned, and he is on many trade watch lists. Jake Allen from Montreal is on a trade watch list. Personally, I think Carolina is much more likely to do something like that than they are somebody who's got, a fair amount of money in his contract and a number of years. I think Allen's got a few years, but I don't think the price tag is very high. Either way, I think this franchise is less apt to make a trade from a point of weakness than it would have to be a significant injury to Kochetkov for them to make a trade, I think. And with that said, I also think that they would probably kind of try to give it a whirl for a little bit. Now, if it's going to be a case where Kochetkov is out for an extended period, then I don't think they have a choice. I'm not saying what I would do. I'm telling you what I think they would do. Because I've already told you what I would do and what I would have done weeks ago. Of course, at that point, we were all under the impression that goaltending was a problem with healthy goalies. That was a problem. Now, with Raanta playing better and Kochetkov playing at the level he was playing at, what they really needed was just another option. Because you can't count on Frederik Andersen coming back. Real quick about Andersen, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because I want to get into some things about the game tonight. Frederik Andersen, to me, when Don Waddell told us in that pregame interview now about a month ago that Andersen was, maybe a week to 10 days from getting back on the ice, he had been fully cleared to practice. That was not a report. That was Don Waddell saying it. And I know that Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada had said, and I listened to the 32 Thoughts, the podcast, where he said, I was told by, to not take that very seriously. And I get it. I don't know who Elliot is talking with. But here is my information on Andersen. What Don Waddell told us was the absolute truth. That medically, Frederik Andersen was cleared to return to working out. But he hasn't yet. And the reason for that is Andersen is understandably cautious about his condition. And they are doing their own independent due diligence about whether or not, he can safely return to working out, skating, playing. And when the situation is as serious as it is, I have no problem with that. But just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, it is about the player looking out for his own best interest in terms of his health. So, not a knee injury. This is not an ankle injury, a shoulder, an abdominal strain. This is blood clotting, and it's very serious. So, it's going to take some time before Anderson feels comfortable being able to do what he needs to do to get back, on the ice with his teammates, and I think we should all just respect that. But with that said, because we are even if we were to, resume everything tomorrow, we're still looking about probably late February, beyond the trade deadline, by the way, early March. If that's the case, then if anything is wrong with Pyotr Kochetkov, knowing that Antti Raanta is still made of paper mache, then you probably need to find at least another goaltending option for the NHL. Again, said before, I'm pretty sure they don't want to put Yanni Peretz on the ice. Not in an NHL game. I am very confident that they, at all costs, want to avoid that. All right. So hopefully Kochetkov is good. Let me talk about Mr. 600th game. And there was a lot in this game tonight, and we don't have enough time to cover all of it. There was a lot in this game tonight. But I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about one of the most underrated trades that this organization made. And it came in the offseason. Tom Dundon has become the official owner of the team. And they make a trade with the Arizona Coyotes for Jordan Martin. And I ain't going to lie. I had no idea who Jordan Martinook was. None. I'd not heard of him. He was really just a depth player for the Arizona Coyotes. And there was no real reason to think that that was going to be a trade of any significance for the Carolina Hurricanes. None. It was, let's see, here's the trade. Coyotes and, traded by Arizona with a 4th-round pick to the Canes for a 3rd-round pick and somebody named Marcus Kruger. Jordan Martinook should be, I'm not going to say a forever Cane, but he almost didn't get his last contract, which was a 3-year deal for a slight pay cut. Jordan Martinook should get another contract. He is a free agent at the end of the season. Jordan Martinook epitomizes what Carolina Hurricanes hockey is. I've said this before. While they're not the same player, I see a lot of Kevin Adams in Jordan Martinook in terms of it is 100% about the team. It is, he will do whatever it takes to win. And he plays in such a way, whether he scores a goal or not, that adds to winning. Before the game, I talked to Rod Brindamore about the return of Jesper Fast into the lineup. And he said that, Jesper does a lot of things, don't show up in the score sheet, blah, 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 which is true. Except that I disagreed with the head coach. Because I said, I think they do. I think the things he does do show up in the score sheet, just not necessarily with his name. I think Jesper Fast adds to goals. And I think Jordan Martinook does as well, even when he's not scoring. And the penalty kill, the energy, the intelligence, the determination, the way he plays is the way Rod Brindamore wants the whole team to play, just like Jordan Staal. And their ability to control other teams' top lines is awesome. It's needed for this team, and I think it's just cool that he's played 600 NHL games. In other situations, he might just be a journeyman player, but he is a significant contributor for this team. Significant and a vital part of this group. And if I'm Tom Dundon and Don Waddell, I am making sure that Jordan Martinook is part of this mix next year and the year after that. Now, do you go? He's going to be in his late 20s. Do you go 3 years? I don't know. Certainly go 2. And I would do the same thing with Steph Nason, by the way, if I could just throw that in 11 points, 11 goals, 14 assists, 25 points in 40 games. You're telling me that Steph Nason is a 50-point player? Really? Yeah, Steph Nason belongs in this team too. So these depth players, if you want to call them depth players, this is really Carolina Hurricanes' identity. The way Nason scores goals around the net, another one tonight, inside the blue when he scores. These are the players that help you win. These are the players that whose games translate to the postseason. And even though he's an extra player, Brendan Lemieux has a value to this team. I didn't think he did at the beginning of the season. It didn't look good for Brendan, whether it was in the preseason. I didn't think he had a good preseason. And it could have very easily been a situation where he gets waived and a player that Rod Brindamore actually wanted here, because what you saw tonight is not the best thing he does. He has some game. But Rod wanted him here for his toughness, to use that euphemism. And we saw it on display tonight. And we saw it on display at a time where it was, I think, useful. And you know me, I am not team fighting. But it was an immediate reaction to a hit on Drury that was, let's just say, questionable. Again, I said this I probably said it at the beginning of the podcast. I said it in the aftermath as well. Because Drury turned his back late, an argument could be made that you don't need to call a penalty there. But I do think it was in a vulnerable area of the ice. So I can understand a penalty being called there. And had that been called against Carolina, I would say the same thing. I understand why the penalty was called. It was in a dangerous, a vulnerable area for the player. It could have resulted in an injury, even though I can hear the argument that it shouldn't have been a penalty. Either way, the hit was questionable, and Lemieux didn't hesitate. Went right after. It was a safe care. Right after the guy delivered the shot. To me, that's the proper way to do it if it's going to be done. And I do think it came at a time in the game where Carolina needed some life, and you provided it. I still don't understand punching the other guy in the helmet, but whatever. It just hurts my own hand to watch it. Carolina used the ensuing power play, by the way, to make it 5-3. Carolina did get a goal before that. That was the bunting to Nason play, which was one of my favorite plays of the night because to me, that line struggled tonight. Kokaniemi, bunting, Nason struggled tonight. But a really good physical play by Bunting to kind of hold up the play and get the puck to Nason in front with a backhand flip. That's probably John Gibson's tougher goal. The one he probably wants back the most because there was just way too much room between Gibson and the post, considering how close to the net Nason was. And that should be a goal that your goalie's got to stop because Nason can't do much with it. He did elevate the puck, but it shouldn't have mattered because Gibson just should have been flushed to the post, considering where Nason was. With that said, we'll all take it. And it was a good, hard-working goal. Great play by Bunting. Great finish by Nason. But we just bring it back to Mr. 600. We saw what happened last year when Jordan Martinook had a healthy season. Start to finish, pretty much healthy season. Now, I don't think he has been as healthy this year as he was last year. But the way he plays, it's hard for him to be anything close to healthy, considering that he's 15 minutes of sacrifice every night. But Martinook, the last year and a half, is really becoming one of the most valuable players on this entire team. A player without whom it just doesn't work as well. So, I mean, again, doesn't play in all situations, doesn't play in the power play. But kills penalties, shut down, winger. And now you put Seth Jarvis on that line, and Jarvis just fits there. It's incredible how comfortable he looks. And I talked to him before the game, and I asked him about it, and he kind of perks up. He loves playing with Jordan and Jordan. Loves it. Loves every second of it. They get the puck a lot. He understands that because of that, he's going to have goal-scoring opportunities. And again, I think he just gets a thrill out of play. The way they play, I think Seth simply enjoys it. So there's a lot of good stuff. Hey, so we've been doing this for how long? Let me just get a quick time. We're about to finish. For how long have we all wanted SAT to matter? How long? 5 years? 6 years? For the first time, no joke, for the first time in 6 years, Svechnikov, Aho, Teravainen, SAT has all the answers. It's been great. It's been great at 5-on-5. It scored early tonight. Teravainen to Aho to Svechnikov, but the line played a heavy game because of Andrei. Teravainen, I thought, played a dynamite game tonight, as did Aho. That whole line was great. And because Aho and Svechnikov right now have legitimate point production chemistry, the minutes that those guys are on the ice, they are super dangerous. And I do think it has helped the power play, or the power play success has helped their 5-on-5 game. And right now, and again, I've talked to Rod about this a lot, about the combination. He thinks it should work too, but it never has. And he went to it coming out of the Christmas break in the game in Nashville. And boy, it's working now. And I think it's gaining confidence. And when Aho and Svechnikov have that confidence, they are dynamite offensive players. Let me just throw these numbers at you before we kind of close up shop here. So this is Svechnikov in the last 10 games, and these are the 10 games he's played since returning to the lineup, starting with the game against Vegas. 9 goals, 7 assists, 10 games. My math says that's 16 points in 10 games. Sounds like Andrei Svechnikov. So file that away, 16 points in 10 games. Same 10-game period for Sebastian Aho. 3 goals, just 3 goals, 17 assists. So My math says 17 assists or 14 assists. 17 assists, I think. Let me do this math real quick. 3, 10, 16, 17. Yes, 20 points. 20 points in the last 10 games. So that is 36 points combined from Aho and Svechnikov. 12 goals, 36 points in the last 10 games. That, my friends, is McDavid Draisaitl stuff. Not bad. All right. Good win over Anaheim. In the standings, Carolina, because the Rangers lost tonight. Carolina just 3 points behind New York. New York does have a game in hand. Philadelphia was idle, so Carolina and Philadelphia have now played 41 games apiece. Canes are on 51 points. Philadelphia is 3 points back on 48. Islanders have also played 41 games. They went in overtime tonight. They're at 48 points. The Devils are on 45. Same with Pittsburgh on 45. Devils have 2 games in hand on Carolina, but Hurricanes have a 6-point lead. Canes and Devils still have 4 games left to play. By the way, other than the Kraken win over Washington and Carolina's win over the Ducks, the Rangers lost in regulation too. All the other matches that mattered to Carolina tonight, they all ended in overtime. So there were points thrown around everywhere. So Mikhailov in Adelaide asked if Zegras could work on this team. Heck no. If you don't play defense, you are not going to work on this team. No chance. And whenever Carolina considers a player, A, the personality of the player is most important, but B, are you going to commit to playing a 200-foot game? And if the answer is not, of course I'll play a 200-foot game, then you will not play here. So Zegras is super talented, but for the same reason why they were never interested in Patrick Laine, ever. Remember when he was with Winnipeg? The one guy from Winnipeg they were interested in, and they were probably pretty close to securing at times, was Nick Ehlers. But nah, man. If you don't defend, you are not for this team. All right. Quick programming note. There will be no Canes Corner podcast Saturday night for the game against Pittsburgh, nor Monday for Justin Williams Day. I am not going to be here this weekend. You'll have a Dennis Cox on the radio. But there will be a terrestrial podcast in which I will present to you a 25-minute conversation with Justin Williams. Why did he come back? What was that drew him back to Carolina? It was good. I sat down with Justin about 10 days ago, and we had a pretty good, candid conversation about why he wanted to be here, what he thought he could do, and how this whole thing happened. So that's coming up. That will drop Sunday. So because I will not be in town for the weekend, and it sucks that I'm not going to be here Monday. Because I could not have more respect for a player and a leader than I do for Justin. I'm sad I'm not going to be here for that, but I couldn't be here. So it was a rescheduled Justin Williams Day because it was supposed to be earlier in the season. It couldn't happen, whatever. But I'm not going to be here this weekend. So no podcast after the game against Pittsburgh Saturday. No podcast after the game against the Kings Monday afternoon. But there will be a regular podcast. So wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Google Play or, I don't know, Podcast World, Walmart, no clue. Um, there will be a Canes Corner podcast dropping on Sunday with my conversation with Justin Williams. And I might include a couple of other things with that, but so that's coming. But again, no podcast after the games on Saturday and Monday. But this was fun today. Apologize if there were some technical issues. I hope they resolved. There really was. I mean, I screwed up the podcast, by the way, this past Saturday. I fully admit that. Completely screwed it up. And I appreciate your patience with all of it. Subscribe, like, rate, review, whatever you got to do. We are here because it's fun to talk about the Hurricanes, and it's I can't get enough. I think about it all the time, and I know a lot of you do. You do as well. So until whenever the next Hurricanes game is after Monday, I think it's Friday, isn't it? I'm not even sure. Anyway, I'm Adam Gold. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna's crew do a great job, and we'll see you next time. Again, Sunday, my conversation with Justin Williams will drop wherever you get your podcast. Until then, have a good one.